Hi. So I don't even know why I'm trying to film this, but I kind of just want to try. If you hear me doing, it's because I'm having quite a bit of a sniffles right now because I was scratching my nose or like picking my nose, and I hit that one spot, like that one sensitive spot in your nose, and I just started sneezing. So yeah. I'm not sure if I like this now because I feel like it's too far. Actually, it looks kind of nice. It's raining right now, so it's kind of like a nice, cool vibe in my room, especially because it's kind of cold, hence the hoodie. And yeah, I just love the rain. It's just so nice and cozy and so serene to me. The rain makes me feel like when I have a lot of thoughts jumbled up together like a storm, it kind of gives me comfort because the cloud is kind of in a storm in its own way. That's not very poetic, is it? I'll probably scratch that out, but I don't know. I'm starting a new book to read, and I kind of want to film myself and my thoughts as it progresses throughout reading this book. And I want to see by the end of this video or by the end of this book how my thought process would be, because this is my first time actually trying to commit to a classical book, because I have several classic books that I've bought, but I've never had the chance to start. And even if I did start, I would literally DNF it, because if you guys don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish. So I would literally DNF every classical book that I started reading because I get so overwhelmed and I get so scared. And let me tell you why. Also, ignore how potato or like an egg I look, because I just showered and my face is really bare. So this is how I look most of the time. If you still think I'm cute, then we can be friends. But anyway, I kind of do look cute like this. Like, I'm a little potato in its shell. Anyway, why am I so scared and overwhelmed in reading classical books? It is because I am scared of the English. To me, like, the reason why I'm always so scared and overwhelmed in reading classical books is because sometimes the classical books like Jane Eyre or Wuthering Heights, the English is so, to me, it's so old to the point that I'm scared to read because I know for a fact that I won't understand any of it. I started Wuthering Heights a couple months ago. I think earlier this year I did try to read it. It's still on my shelf with its bookmark in it, I think. I have no idea where is it, but it's somewhere up on my shelf. I started reading it, and I think I was like 10 pages in. I could not understand what the hell was going on, and I literally just DNF it also, like my other classical books that I bought, and I just never picked it up again. So it's kind of sad because I've always told myself, or like I've always aspired to read more classical books, and every time I go to the bookstore, I always see the classical books that I've seen in the book community where they would read and like talk about, but I would never, like, I want to pick it up, I want to buy it, but I know for a fact I will not even try to read it because I'm so scared and overwhelmed of its old English, or like the level of English of those classical books were written in. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm just scared because I know I can't understand it, and even if I do, it's like I can't comprehend the sentences sometimes. So it would take me longer time to even read a paragraph, especially if the English is so, not so old, but it's so, I guess you can say it's so old because it was written like years before, like it's written in the olden days, I guess I can say that. So I'm starting to read classical books, and the first classical books that I'm starting to reread is Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I've read this before. I think it was during my diploma. I'm not sure like what year, but during that time I did try to read The Picture of Dorian Gray, but due to my schedule being so busy to the point where I couldn't even pick up this book to continue reading it, I literally stopped reading, and I lost interest in reading this because I know that this book is a really good book and the story is really good too. I've seen some of my favorite bookstagrammers talked highly about this book, of course, and it's called a classical book for a reason. But yeah, I never got to finish reading this, and I was quite sad when I think about it. I was like, oh, if only I had finished this back then, I could probably, fangirl with all the bookstagrammers that I follow that reviews or talks about this book, and I'll be like, I can't relate because I never finished this book and it's quite sad. So far, I'm already 5 chapters in, and I was supposed to hit my 5th chapter yesterday, but yesterday I started reading this book quite late and it was like 1 a.m. and I had to sleep because I had an early day today because Friday is working day. I just finished the 5th chapter and now starting the 6th chapter. I was trying to target this book like 5 chapters a day or at least 10 chapters a day, but I know now that's not possible because I really needed the time in reading each paragraph because of how heavy the English is. And sometimes when I read the paragraphs or like read the writing, I get lost. I feel like any readers would be faced with this kind of phenomenon, which is like you're reading but then your mind starts to wander, but you're still reading, and then when you suddenly like realize like, wait a minute, what did I just read? Like I couldn't comprehend it or something. So it's like when you are listening to a song while multitasking, you are not even focused on the song. Wait, that's a bad example. Or is it the other way around? You're doing work, but you're listening to the song, but you get sidetracked with the song instead of your work. I guess that's a better example, but I'm sure you know what I mean. It's like you just lose track of what you're reading, but your mind is still reading, but your mind is also at the same time is somewhere else. So that's what I'm trying to explain. When I read, I would just read, and then there will be moments where I lose focus and I won't comprehend what the story is about at the time. So I would have to like reread it, like start again. So it takes me twice as much time to read Dorian Gray. But so far, even starting chapter 6, I'm still intrigued with the story. I'm still engaged with it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm still engaged, and I'm still curious on how does this thing happen where he starts to like not age because of his picture, because I know that that's the main thing that was happening, or like the story is about, that he doesn't age but his picture is aging. That's why it's called The Picture of Dorian Gray. I have 2 sticky tabs because I used one of this for the other book, but the other book I already finished it, so I have extra. I'm also annotating in this book because I just want to like really comprehend the story, because I know how deep the writing is and like the literature for this book. I know how deeply it is, so I kind of want to like really comprehend and understand this book and this story that Oscar Wilde has written in the past. So my usual tagging is still the same. I tag some of my favorite words or quotes or lines, sentences or paragraphs in blue. I tag the writing structure or any sentence that I want to take note of the structure of the sentence or paragraph in green. I tag like a really dramatic moment, or like what Dorian, like this one page where Dorian was talking about Sybil Vane. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. Sybil Vane is his newfound lover, So I tag in red because he was talking about her with so much passion, with so much feelings and emotions. So I tagged that as a red sticky tab because it's like very dramatic, and I'm like, okay, chill, Dorian. It's just a girl you just met. You gotta slow down, boy. But yeah, it's funny. Purple is also about the plot. Like some sentence, I feel like, this is foreshadowing about something in the future chapters. I think there's one in, oh yeah, that's basically it. I also tag one pink because for chapter 11, because I want to like really get to this chapter. Like I want to reach chapter 10 at least tomorrow or like the next day, basically. So far reading until chapter 5, I am slowly like falling into, or like slowly being interested in reading classical books, because like I said, my fear of starting to read classical books is because I'm scared of the English, but at the same time I'm scared that I would not like it. Like I would not like classical books, because I really want to try read more classical books actually. But this is another fear that once I start reading classical books, I'll be like, ew, I don't like classical books apparently, which I kind of don't want to feel that way, because I aspire to write well, like as well as these great authors. But yeah, so like basically when I read classical books, it's me like learning the writing structure, the writing style, the literature behind it, because I wish I had taken literature instead of mass comm. Well, sometimes I don't mind mass comm. Mass comm is great, but yeah, another one of my passion is to pursue literature, or like writing basically. I'm starting to like getting really interested, and I think the English here is not that harsh, or like not that heavy compared to Wuthering Heights for some reason, because literally guys, when I read Wuthering Heights or Withering Heights, I have no idea how to pronounce it. Wuthering Heights, when I read it, I was like, I don't understand. What are they trying to say? Like, oh, what is happening? I just don't understand it. So maybe starting with this instead of that book, I might slowly progress myself into reading more classic books. I'm really enjoying this. And I'll update you guys for the next part of this video. I don't know why I want to film in the dark. I just like being in the dark. So that's just basically the main reason why. Every time I'm on film, there's always dogs barking, motorcycling here and there, cars, but I don't control the world. Therefore, I am always overwhelmed with my own life. Anyway, welcome to the second night of reading Picture of Dorian Gray. So, right now, I am already in chapter 10. I was reading throughout the evening because I had to run some errands in the afternoon with my brother. Plus, I got up pretty late. I woke up early, but I stayed in bed for 2 more hours, or like 3 more hours, and then I got up late. So, I didn't wake up late, I got up late. There's a difference. I got up late and I showered. I had my brunch, some coffee and some, what do you call that? Croissant. I had coffee and croissant for my breakfast / kind of lunch. And then around 3 p.m. I think, I went out with my brother to run some errands because I have to like deal something with my internet. So that was fun because I bought 2 new books, which I'm going to show to you guys a little bit later because I want to update you guys on Dorian. As I mentioned just now, I just reached chapter 10 and I cannot be more engaged and stuck to this book because it's crazy to me. So what I realized about Dorian, and I hope like my thoughts is correct, because sometimes I'm scared to like having my own conclusions toward a classical book or stories because I'm afraid that I'm misinterpreting the story or the writing. So I'm pretty sure by the end of this video, or once I finish reading, I'll probably search for an analysis for this book just to see if my thoughts and feelings are correct or the same as what other readers thought and felt about this book. So reaching up to chapter 7, the main thing that I wanted to happen has finally happened. I was just waiting for this moment to, like, as I was reading it, I was like, when is this whole portrait phenomena is going to start? Because I'm just like itching and like reading page by page until I reached chapter 7, and I was like, it's happening. This is where it started. This is where the whole thing's going down. So I was quite more excited to keep on reading and to see what was going to happen next. What I realized about Dorian as I read through, I noticed that he is definitely highly influenced by Lord Henry, because now in chapter like 8 or 9, you can hear from his dialogues, from Dorian's dialogues, that's basically like the things he says is basically Henry's view and thoughts, like his influence, like the things he says. And he would always mention Henry, like, oh, Henry mentioned this before, like, oh, as Henry said about this, blah 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 blah. So like, why does Dorian always not talk about Henry, like rephrased or mentioned the things that Henry has told him, or like the things that Henry has influenced him about life, about conscience, about basically other things that he's suddenly inspired about? Because even Basil, I think that's how you pronounce that character's name, Lord Basil, even noticed that change, that difference in Dorian. Like, this is like, even like when I was reading through, there was this paragraph, I was like, okay, this is not Dorian, this is basically Henry is talking, not Dorian, but it's Dorian's dialogue. And below there, Lord Basil literally said, this is Henry's doing, this is Henry's influence. And I'm like, yes, I thought I was the only one who's thinking about that. So it got me thinking, like, if Dorian is so influenced by Henry's view, then who is Dorian? Literally, when you read like chapter 8 and 9, the things that Dorian says, you can see like, this is not Dorian Gray. Or like, who is Dorian Gray then? Because like the things he says, the things like his opinions and thoughts is basically influenced by Henry, and it's not his own thoughts and feelings and conclusions. Recently, Dorian met with this new girl that he's so highly infatuated with, and he has fallen deeply in love with her, and she has fallen deeply in love with him. And again, Henry is influencing pretty negative things about love, or like opinions about love, to Dorian, and Dorian would take it like, oh, that is basically it. Henry's opinions and views is the only opinions and views. That's what I feel. I feel like Dorian doesn't even have space and time of his own to like really break down the things that he's experiencing and to feel for his own and to understand his own feelings, instead of being influenced by Henry. Why Dorian doesn't have his own realization about himself and how he should feel, not how Henry thinks he should feel. So that's what bugs me. I just really hate Lord Henry for some reason. But you can't deny that that man, Lord Henry, has some very nice quotable lines, because throughout the book, every time I annotate and I was like underlining sentences that I feel like, oh, this is a really good quote. It's like very knowledgeable sentence that I kind of want to keep note for. And it's always a dialogue from Lord Henry. So, you know, like he says some really deep stuff, and sometimes it does make sense, but his views on things is just really crazy. And like Lord Basil said, he is a dangerous man. Like his influence is definitely dangerous. And another thing about Lord Henry that I don't like is that he sees other human beings as like specimens for his own experiment, because that's what he's literally doing with Dorian, there will be some like inner monologue for Lord Henry where he literally say that, oh, it's very interesting to see how Dorian acts or how things affect him, especially how his views and opinions affects him, and to see his reaction towards it. So I'm like, if I know someone who's literally examining me for his own pleasure, I would detach from that person. Like, no, my life is not something for you to look under a microscope. Sorry. But yeah, that's what he's doing with Dorian, and I just feel kind of like, not disgusted, it's just like, what? Why? Like, I know you're old, but you know, you can't be that bored to literally research and have pleasure in studying other people. I don't know. What else? There was this sentence that I find it quite mind-boggling, I guess. There was this one moment where Basil and Dorian was kind of like having a quarrel, but not so much of a quarrel. They were like talking and having like a very serious conversation to the point where I think they were both arguing with each other, but not really arguing. But basically what he said is that he said that, wait, let me just try to find it because I really want to talk about this, because I think it's just the other way around. There was this moment in a paragraph where Dorian was talking, and then Lord Basil literally just said like, oh, this is all Henry's influence, I can see that. And then Dorian was like, no, this is not Henry's influence, blah blah blah. And it's like, you only taught me to be vain. And I was like, isn't that the other way around? Like, I feel like Henry, like Lord Henry or Harry is what they call him sometimes. Lord Henry, I feel like, is teaching Dorian to be vain, is to be self-absorbed, is to be so obsessed with himself, because Lord Henry was the one who kind of like unveiled Dorian's eyes to like realize his own beauty and his own power, I guess you can say that. Like his own realization of, wow, I am a being of such beauty, therefore I have power over people, kind of thing. I feel like Lord Henry is the one who's literally teaching Dorian to be vain, and not Lord Basil. I feel like, you know, Lord Basil is just not really teaching him, but it's just like expressing himself and at the same time teaching him the art of painting. But since knowing Lord Henry, Dorian is literally learning and experiencing and like trying to be self-absorbed and obsessed with himself, and to think so low of other people who are not worthy of his beauty or of himself, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I feel about that sentence. Like that piece of dialogue, you only taught me to be vain, is what Dorian said to Lord Basil, and it just got me thinking like, isn't that the other way around though? So sometimes when I read this kind of dialogues and it got me thinking, sometimes I just feel like, am I wrong? Am I wrong to think about that, or like to have that kind of short conclusion like, I think it's the other way around? So yeah, I'm going to try and reach up to chapter 15 for tonight, and then I'll have like 5 chapters left to finish this book, but I'm not sure. I'll probably continue it tomorrow because I kind of have other things that I want to do for tonight, like editing another video and then editing this video. So also, before I move to the other clip for the update, I want to show you guys the 2 books that I bought for today. So I got the 3rd and last book of the Folk of the Air series. So this is The Queen of Nothing. Finally, I can finish this series and be done with it, because I honestly, if you watched my review, then you know what I feel about the first 2 books. So go give that a watch if you guys haven't. The second book that I got is the second book of the Deadly Education series, or the Scholomance series. So this is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. I'm really excited to read this because I love the first book, so I'm really excited. When I saw this book on the bookshelves, I was just like, because it's the only one. This is the only one that was in popular at the mall near my house. So I was like, I just had to get this. And then I saw this, so I was like, I have to get these two because I want to finish reading this and I want to continue reading this. So yeah. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye. I just finished chapter 15 and I have 5 more chapters left until I finish this whole book. So I kind of want to do a chapter 15 update because my thoughts and feelings are just so furious. I am so angry right now with Dorian Gray and who he's becoming, because he has turned into a vicious and malicious person. And earlier in the story, I was like, Dorian Gray, he's so sweet, he's so innocent, and I don't want to say kind. I mean, he was so sweet and innocent and pure. And then right up to chapter 15 and of what he did, it's so evil. And I don't want to tell you guys what he did, especially for those who haven't read this classic book yet. But yeah, what he did was terribly evil, and it just poisoned his soul even more. So that's my thoughts for chapter 15 so far. And the story kind of like changes a little bit because the author kind of like introduced this new character, and how the author was explaining about this new character was kind of fast-paced. So I was like, wait a minute, can we like slow down a bit, because there's just so much changed. And oh my god, the years that has progressed in this book, I was so shocked, because I was like, you know, when we first met him, like in the first chapter, I think he was 21 or 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And like throughout this book, as the years go by, he's now 38. He's 38. So I was like, damn, that's a lot of years go by. I was quite shocked because I thought the book would just be him in his 20s, but then in chapter 15 he reached to his 38th birthday, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, that's a crazy big jump, you know? And I just realized, or I just learned, that Dorian Gray is a Scorpio because he's born on 2nd November. Wait, I want to find this for you guys. He was born on, come on, where is it? Where is chapter 12? Because, okay, he was born on the 9th of November, so he's a Scorpio. I find that funny. That's very comical because I'm a Scorpio and I'm like, oh, he's a Scorpio, red flag over there. Yeah, that's my thoughts and feelings so far. I'm just angry with Dorian. I hate him, honestly. And, you know, I feel like his mind and his justification for what he did was simply stupid, in my opinion. I was like, he thinks Basil Hallward is the main reason on why he has become like that. But I don't think so. Like, if you guys, like, in the previous clip, I mentioned that it's Henry who's influencing him and is poisoning his mind with things and made him to think that way. So it's not really Basil Hallward. He just paint that picture. And Henry is the one who, you know, make him realize about his youth and life. So it's not Basil, it's Henry. Like, Dorian should be angry and furious and did what he did at Henry, not at Basil. So that's just how I feel, honestly. I hate him. That's just all I have to say. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys when I reach the final chapter and wrap this video up. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm so not prepared for this ending. So it is the end of this video. Actually, it's been a couple weeks and I procrastinated a lot. That's why today I'm filming the end part of this video. But whatever. In this video, it's like a couple seconds from the last clip. So I actually don't remember what's the last clip and like what I was talking about. I just finished, well, I didn't just finish. I finished The Picture of Dorian Gray a couple weeks ago, and it was quite Like now I realize that I do enjoy reading classics. It's just that I really need to have a deep focused and time to read classic books, because I know their English can be quite heavy, and if I don't have the focus and the time, I would get easily distracted and I would be like not engaged to read a classic book. But The Picture of Dorian Gray, to me, it is a good way to start reading classics. This is my opinion because I only have like few classic books, so I started with this. The story, I know the ending of Picture of Dorian Gray. It's just that I never really know how it happened, and when I finished this I was like, wow, so that's how it ended. I don't want to say what happened to those who haven't read it, but if you've read this and you're watching this, then you know what happened in the ending, which is it is a very drastic and tragic ending. So I can tell you that. I was researching some analysis on this book, but I haven't really read those analysis online. But like I saw one analysis where it was saying that the three main characters, which is Basil. Also, apparently I've been pronouncing Basil's name wrong this whole time. So please ignore the fact that in the earlier video, I pronounced his name wrong. It's Basil, not Basil. So, Basil. Anyway, the three characters, Basil, Dorian, and Henry. Apparently, those three characters and their characteristic, it reflects Oscar Wilde. So, when I was reading one of the analysis, it mentioned that, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember it correctly, Henry is how the world views him. Basil is how he views himself, and Dorian is how he secretly wants to be. I might be wrong, so I would have to Google it later in the editing part of this video. But yeah, it's really interesting that those three characters actually reflects the author Oscar Wilde. So when I read the analysis, I was like, "Ooh, interesting." So I just saved it, but I didn't really read it. To talk about the writing, of course, it's quite heavy, but at the same time, if you have the time and focus to read it and comprehend the meaning of each lines, then you can understand the story. Because sometimes if I like stopped mid paragraph and then I do something else, and then when I come back to continue reading, I would be lost. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? What's the context right now? What's going on? So I have to like reread a few paragraphs before the one that I stopped to like remember what was going on. I did tab some stuff, like mostly I tabbed some favorite lines and quotes, and mostly it comes from Henry. Like the things he says is like so quotable in life, and it's very funny because to me, when I read this, I dislike Henry so bad and his views and his influence on Dorian, but he says some pretty interesting and quotable stuff. Also, speaking of influence, am I the only one who thinks that the bad guy here is actually Henry, not Basil? Because Dorian thinks that, oh, his life is turned into this terrible experience, and like how he keeps doing sins and like his influence and stuff like that is actually influenced by Henry, not Basil, because Dorian blames Basil for painting himself, like a portrait of himself, and he blames Basil for him turning into a monster and his soul is being corrupted, poisoned. He blames Basil for what's happened to him, when in my opinion, when I read this, I feel like Henry's the one who is to blame here, because Henry's the one who made Dorian realize of the power of beauty and the power of youth, whereas Basil, he just painted Dorian. He finds Dorian as this big inspiration in his art, and when he painted Dorian, he was just so overwhelmed with how much Dorian influenced his art. So I was like, like, isn't Henry the one who made him realize about his power? And Basil was just the only one who painted his picture, so why did Dorian blame Basil and not Henry? So that's my opinion of the whole influence thing. I don't really know what else to talk about because I know this is a great book in literature, and I know Oscar Wilde, like I know this is the only published novel that Oscar Wilde has, but he does have other writings. Like I think he has a poetry collection and a short story collection, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm kind of interested to read more of his writing because I think his writing is really good. I enjoy every line, every expression, every idea that he has in this book. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. This will be August classic read. I'm thinking of doing a monthly read for classic books. So next month, I'm not sure what classic book that I'm going to read because I recently just got a new classic book from my best friend's mom. She gave me The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I have Wuthering Heights. I have I forgot what's the name of the book by Charlotte Bronte. I forgot. Jane Eyre. I think I have I have Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights. I have To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye. If I'm not mistaken, those are classic books too. So yeah, we'll see what's the classic book for next month, and I'll be doing a video on that too, hopefully. So I think my thought process throughout this whole video and reading this, I can say that I enjoy reading classic if I have the time and focus, because when I have the time and focus and really like comprehend each paragraph, each sentence, I'll be like, okay, I can understand classic books. Because before this, I think earlier in the video, I said I'm scared to read classic books because I'm afraid that I'm not going to understand the whole story or like the whole writing of the author. But yeah, for this book, I can easily understand the story. That will be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed filming this. Please do subscribe, like, and comment for engagement. Any engagement will be highly appreciated from you guys. If you guys haven't, please do check out all of my other videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!